Ah, we're muted. Uh, are we muted? Hello? Yeah, we should start over. Do it over again. Wait, you're muted, but I'm not muted. Yeah. There's like the loop going. There's like a delay. It's weird. Hold on. I have multiple things. Oh, yes. Technical difficulties, everyone. Let's start the whole stream over. We will figure what's going on. Is the feed's not going through? I don't know what's happening. Hello. Since you can only hear me, hi, I'm Moobs. We're gonna try to do things. Yeah, Max is figuring out
You can hear
his
me now.
audio issues. Oh, okay, cool.
I know what I did. I know what I did. Oh man, I know what I did. We're gonna start over, everybody. Hold on.
Yeah,
We're
let's
redoing
let's
it.
start
The
over. Hold
mulligan.
on. Take two.
Time out.
Tomb of Knowledge, but it's Tome.
Time out, everybody. Here, listen to some music for 5 seconds. Hello, adventurers. My name is Maximus, and I'm here with moves like Jagger from the GG and crew, and you are watching and or listening to Tome of Knowledge, Caches and Cantrips podcast that we do every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Right. Podcast, live stream,
First try.
vodcast, vlog. I don't know. Yeah, see, we got it right the first try, baby.
First try. We're professionals. We're professionals. Before we get into talking about the awesome topics that we have today, I'm going to open my notes so I don't get my dates messed up. I'm all over the place today, but you know what? That's okay because we're doing it live.
Oh yeah.
Literally,
Oh yeah.
literally live. So hopefully you all have enjoyed all of the previous one shots that have happened, but we're not done yet because the 31st of this month of March will be Ron's Dreamy One Shot. And it's going to be DM'd by Moobs as Ron. So it's going to be fantastic.
Gonna be good. Gonna be good.
And I think the real draw for that is that I'm going to be playing Brannis, everyone's favorite NPC out of the whole campaign.
Best redemption arc ever, I think.
He stole your hearts the first scene that everyone saw him. You can't lie to me.
By lighting them on fire. And
Uh,
he's like, Brandis is like a Sour Patch Kid. It's sour at first, but then sweet later.
Amazing. Sour Patch Kid. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Aside from the Ron's Dreamy One Shot, we also are going to do Out of Combat live on April 7th, 6 p.m. Pacific, where we talk about the entire first campaign. So if you have questions, put them in Discord, tweet them at us, or send a carrier pigeon, or yell at me from reasonable distance.
Yeah, just open up your window and yell your question to Max, and somehow it'll magically get to his ears.
I hope so.
Cast clairvoyance or clairaudience.
Sending,
There you go. Sending.
cast
Much better.
sending.
Messaging. Animal messaging.
Animal, yes, animal messenger.
But you can find all that at castersandcantrips.com. Look at all those social links where you can submit your questions.
Choose your favorite social media platform and then just yell a question at me in all caps. So make sure I
Yeah.
see it.
And if you're watching on the YouTubes, which is live right now, you could put them in the comments after the video's over.
Yeah, or you can put them in chat. But yeah, put them in the comments. It's easier because I'll lose them in chat after now. But I will say that if you aren't and you haven't yet, please open up YouTube, watch us on there. We're really close to getting the number of subs required to be able to monetize on YouTube. So we just need some more subs and some people to watch more, and then we'll
Yeah,
be there.
85 subs. We should
Hmm.
do a cool giveaway or something. I don't know. Something cool. We'll do something
Yeah,
cool. We'll talk about it.
yeah, that
Not
sounds
here,
good to
but
me. Yeah, I was like, we'll talk about it, but not here. And then last but certainly not least, April 21st. April 21st. April 21st. Campaign 2 will be upon us. I'm very excited.
whew, I am too. April, it seems far, but it's not. It's gonna be quick.
It's like a month away, man. When we start, which has me terrified and panicking now. But no, it's gonna be fine. Also, if you want to get some sneak peek behind the scenes stuff, Bun is doing character art on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific on this channel right here. So she's doing some of the character art and has started doing some of the concepts. So it's amazing and fascinating as always. Oh, Ron body pillow is technically an art giveaway.
It's true. It's kind of true. But yeah, let's say Zeus, how's it going? Village, Bun. It's good to see all these beautiful usernames. The sweet cheebs. Yep. Good to see everybody.
A pleasure. I think that's all I need to go over. Oh, other thing, we're not going to be doing Tome Knowledge next week because I'm not going to be here. Because Bun and I are going to be on vacation.
Hey,
I'm very excited.
vacation.
A real
Uh,
vacation.
I could do it by myself, but then that'd be weird.
You just want to talk to yourself. Yeah, just talk to
Oh,
yourself.
so we'll wait. We'll wait.
Yeah, aside from, I think that's everything I needed to say. So the first question we've got today, our first discussion that I want to talk about, that I think
Yes.
is fun, it's alignment, character alignment. What are the pros and the cons of using alignments in your games, or ways to make it more meaningful?
That is alignment's tricky. Because players, when they make a character, or when I make a character in mine, and I'm like, oh, they're this alignment, but rarely does it ever come into play in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Like very few times, um, where like I did something that was not in line with my alignment, and then I got like a little check mark, and after 3 check marks, my DM said, "Well, if you get your 3rd check mark, you're gonna have to change your alignment." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that was cool, but like I think nowadays it's not really a thing.
Yeah, so I alignment's complicated. If you know what we're talking about first, alignment, there's a nice little 9 square like grid to kind of outline this. Where you have one side is lawful, neutral, and chaotic, and the other axis is good, neutral, and evil. So lawful good, someone who's lawful and is good. Chaotic evil, someone who's chaotic and evil. True neutral, right in the middle, neutral and everything. So and you can go back and forth and debate which, you know, what alignment means what and all these things, and I don't necessarily want to get into that specifically. But first off, hot take, you know that alignment is already messed up in your campaign, right? When you have spells like protection from good and evil or detect good and evil, they don't have anything to do with good or evil. Not inherently, anyway. Detect good and evil just tells you if there are, what is it, aberrations, celestial, elemental, fae, fiend, or undead within 30 feet of you. Yes, that can be extrapolated to where some of those particular creature types are more than likely leaning towards one alignment direction, but we're already in trouble here. We're definitely already in trouble. And there are very, very few times where I think alignment matters for characters. I think there are some, like, very few items in the game that have different properties based on character alignment. Very few and far between. They feel like a holdover from like previous editions. But my second hot take is I think alignments are near useless for player characters. And here's why. In my mind as a DM, your character's alignment is informed by the decisions that your character makes, right? It's not the other way around in my head. Um in my mind, I don't say, well, my character's chaotic neutral, so I'm going to do this. I think of it in the reverse. My character's going to do this. What does that make me? How does that define me? Um I don't know what you think about that, or if you think the same way, but I think for characters it's pretty much useless.
Uh, ye- yes, I think in fifth edition it is,
Hmm.
because I know we always go back to 3.5, and 3.5, like, to be a barbarian, you have to be chaotic or
Yeah,
any non-lawful whatever, and then the opposite for paladins, you have to be uh
lawful
yeah, you have to be lawful,
or
which is
non-evil as
or
well. I think.
non-evil. Yeah. So there it kind of played more. I guess maybe like as an early paladin player in 3.5, I was like, well, I'm a lawful paladin. I have to follow the rules. So maybe early on, I kind of catered to like I have to do this because I'm a paladin.
Hmm.
But like as I matured as a player, I kind of just ignored that aspect, especially in like fifth edition where it doesn't really matter what your alignment is anymore for
Yeah.
like specifically for paladins. But yeah, I don't make my decisions based on my alignment. I do what my character would do.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree for the most part on some of those points. And looking at my notes, I'm trying to decipher what I wrote because I was furiously typing. um, I could see as a new player, um, I don't even know if a new player even needs to know about alignment, to be honest. Like, cause I was gonna go down the path of maybe it can help a new player to kind of figure out what their character's gonna be like. But fuck that. They don't need that. They can figure out what their character is going to be like by being their character, like
Yeah, just playing.
just by just playing and really thinking like what would my character do, like how would they respond to these things. Yeah, I don't think alignment matters for characters. I'm gonna say that, fuck it. The only time that I've even done anything remotely related to alignment is I think in campaign 1 when we started session 0. I was like, hey, nobody's evil. Your character can be neutral or good, but you can't be evil. And I
Yeah.
think that's more of informing what kind of game we wanted to play than like boxing a character in, right?
No, yeah. Yeah, I think someone said it in chat. It's more of a session 0 thing, setting the tone of the campaign.
Yeah.
Because if you do have like a campaign where everyone's can be where they want,
Hmm.
alignment wise, it could create a lot of conflict in the sessions and possibly like campaign ending too, especially
Yeah.
when characters are at odds each other because of their beliefs and alignment. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
And that just comes down to talking to each other outside of the game, I think, more than anything. Because if you know up front, like, hey, this is the kind of game we want to play. We're gonna be heroes. We're gonna do these things. Like, we're not gonna be evil people. Like, I don't know if that necessarily boils down to alignment. I guess it does, like tangentially, because I don't know. I think alignment can help in certain circumstances. I think a really cool exercise that you can use for world building is something that I think of occasionally. And I think Zeus, you and I have talked about this before, are looking at settlements and deciding what alignment an entire settlement leads to. And I think that that's abstracted enough from the sort of like the populace, like, and it doesn't boil down to one individual person. Then you can kind of get a look and feel of like what is this society sort of like. Um, that can be helpful. I think alignment can help a lot more in the DM's corner than the player's corner. I think, in my opinion.
Agreed. But, some players could take that to the extreme, right?
Hmm.
You can be the lawful good or, otherwise known as lawful stupid.
Yeah,
They're, like, so focused on the law that it kinda just derails what's happening or the opposite, of chaotic neutral where, "Oh, well, my character's a dick, so I'm gonna do dickish things."
God, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that soapbox. Like, well, my character's a dick. It's like, no, you're a dick because you made your
Yeah.
character a dick. You're the dick in this
Yes.
scenario.
Yes, I agree. Concur, I concur.
Oh man.
And those kinds of things can get out of hand. Um, so it's really about players coming together to decide what's gonna work because, at the end of the day, you're playing a game together and you wanna have fun and enjoy each other's company and enjoy the game as well. So, if someone's gonna make a dickish character, then it's just not gonna be fun for anyone.
Hmm. You said something in there. Is I think the problem with a new player is that they will play themselves. I I would s- put out there that almost every new player, to if it's like to tabletop role playing in general, are going to play themselves as their first character in some way,
Agreed.
shape, or form. Either is who they are or who they want to be. So I don't think alignment necessarily comes into play into that.
I think that's
Um,
okay too because
yeah,
they're playing the game for the first time. They don't really know what
yeah,
they can or cannot do, so they're more comfortable just being themselves, and I think that's fine
yeah, totally.
for new players. Or I mean, if you want to be typecast in all your campaigns by playing yourself, I mean, actors do it all the time, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yep, I like what you're saying. Everything that is done by alignment can be done better by interpersonal communication. It's just the convention for quickly referencing dynamics. I agree with that. I am very much an advocate for just talk to people. Like, it's in and this is my entirely my fault for reading too much D&D Reddit. But there's so many problems, and luckily there's some people that have some sense that say just talk to them. This is not an in-world problem. This is a people problem. Just talk to your players.
Delage asks, "Do you think alignment deserves to exist in the ways of monsters? For example, unicorns are good, undead are bad, etc."
That's a good question. And I think that you can get into trouble with that in some ways, but not in others. So when I think of, I think of, I guess, two separate sort of classes of enemy in D&D. Like one level up enemy, you've got your monsters, and then you have like your bad people, right? When it comes to like monsters, I think that that's okay. And I think in the end, all they're mostly suggestions anyway, to kind of give you like a touchstone. I don't like when, a classic example of kind of what's happening with, the dark elves always being evil, or the um
Yeah,
or the,
orcs.
or the Dwergar always being evil. Like, I I don't necessarily like that, for I hope for obvious reasons. um, but I think monsters is a different deal, and I think that it's also is true in that, monsters versus bad people should be treated differently in combat too. I guess if your party um wanted to do that too, but yeah, I guess it can work in certain circumstances. I don't dislike it for the most part.
Yeah, I'm curious with he announced changes in alignment for 1D and D because they're trying to go away from alignment for that specific reason. Like,
Mhm.
so I wonder how. I know there was a lot of controversy when that was announced, and people were like choosing sides or whatever. But like, who cares if you want to be a good Drow or Dwarguard? You can be a good Drow or Dwarguard. It doesn't matter.
Mhm. Yeah, I think in that case, like, alignment is so ingrained with D&D because it's been in the editions for so long. Um, I don't think we would lose anything if it went away, to be honest. Um, and I think people that want it, it's still going to be ingrained anyway. But I'm kind of take it or leave it. Um, I
Let's
think
talk.
that. Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about a bad unicorn, for example, as Bill Dodge has listed as good. But what's a bad unicorn? Does it have? Did it dye its hair and skin fur like emo colors and get like some spikes on on its hooves or something like that kind of bad, like a badass unicorn or
I don't know, because when you say bad unicorn, my mind just goes to like, oh, nightmare, evil horse, got it.
yeah, because there's that too. There's the nightmare, which
Yeah,
is like the evil equivalent of a unicorn. But is it a bad unicorn? Is a wannabe nightmare? Is trying to hang out with the nightmares, but it can't because it's a unicorn.
yeah. I don't know, and I mean, so let's take that one step further. Unicorns are sentient species, right?
Yes,
So whether a unicorn is good or evil is totally dependent upon them in the long run, right?
it's true.
So a bad unicorn is a unicorn who just feels like being bad. I don't I don't know.
Not a unicorn.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll put in an evil unicorn in some game.
You heard it. Campaign 2, evil unicorn.
Unicorns are coming up, guys.
Or if
Yeah,
you wanna be a top tier Patreon subscriber, you can make an evil unicorn as an NPC.
yeah, platinum level, evil unicorn.
I look forward to it, even if I had to subscribe myself.
I would if someone really wanted that, I'd try really hard to put it in there because I don't like to say no if people are going to do that. um, yeah. Why is a unicorn lawful good, whereas a treant is chaotic good? Shouldn't those be swapped? Good question. Good question.
I feel like Prince would be chaotic neutral. People fucking with him all the time. They had enough. They had enough. Everyone's shit. And if they're gonna smack someone with their branch as they walk by, then so be it.
Yeah, innate. I 100% agree with you. You just can't slap an alignment on an entire like race or group wholesale. It's a case by case. Yeah, and that's why it separates from like monsters to like, I guess a good way of putting it are monsters versus like sentient like beings that have a society and stuff like that. But
You know,
yeah.
another thing about trying to role play alignment, like I've done a few evil campaigns in my time.
Mhm.
It's really hard to role play evil. It's tough. Like
Yeah.
because you're supposed to do bad things. I don't want to do bad things. I just want to be a cool monster, you know?
Man, for some reason in the campaigns that I've played, and they haven't been strictly evil. They very well could have been, and you just push it a little more, I think. But for some reason, I fit right in at home with being an asshole as a character and role play wise. I don't know why. Maybe that says a lot about me. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, I guess I'm in the minority because Village is like question mark. It's hard to roleplay evil, and then Chiba was like maybe for you, and then Mercat just told me to kick some infants around. So
You're the best of us, moves, and
I'm sorry.
you're the best of us.
All right, I'll start stabbing and stealing things.
um, I to get back on the subject, I think that it could be like I like when I use it as like world building or as like a way to tell a story. I think more grand sort of plot devices make sense for that. And case in point, I 100% use some of that for campaign 2 without giving any sneak peeks.
Oh,
So I 100% lean into that.
all right. Got that down, bun. Because we missed a lot of clues and cues in campaign one. We gotta be vigilant for campaign two. We gotta pay extra careful.
I it just goes back to I just make the sandbox and you all play in it. If you want to play in one corner and not visit the other one, I'm fine by it. It doesn't hurt my feelings or anything.
Just for us to pay attention more, bun. We're not good at picking up cues.
And I mean, that was like 2 years ago. So, I don't know. I mean, I can always be more heavy handed, but yeah. And to kind of go to your point, innate favorite type of bad is someone that doesn't just go over the top, like, classic mustache twirling villain. I always like to think of like why is this person doing what they're doing, and do they think that they're right? Because more often than not, people who are going to be your bad guys or evil people, they rarely they're being evil just to be evil. They have a reason. That goes kind of more into storytelling and building out NPCs with motivations and stuff like that. Maybe we can do one of those in the future. It's a good. We'll write that down. Write that down, Bun.
Got it. Well, I mean, we could talk about it. Yeah, we can talk about it right now. Like the Archmage,
Yeah,
campaign one.
did
He
it
was
for
he was a
love.
baddie. Yeah, he did it for love. He didn't do it to take over the world.
Hmm.
He wanted to bring his sweetheart back, but through the worst way possible.
Yeah, or even the Baron did it out of duty, right? His
Yeah,
friend.
I guess
Yeah, it's.
alignment in the long scheme of things is mainly for the DM and world building.
I think it's better served there, in my opinion. I think alignment creates more questions than it answers on a player character side.
Let's see. Oh, what's up? Aeon 6. Welcome on in.
Hello.
Well, I don't really have much more to talk about alignment unless you have more notes.
No, and then we kind of.
we
Not that I
lost
can see.
we lost some steam on alignment because we're like, we could do without it.
Yeah.
TLDR.
Yes, because we have the same opinion,
don't
pretty much.
don't care.
Yeah, I don't
Do
care
what
about
you
it.
want, but as long as everyone's having a good time.
I think the next one that you brought up um was for combat, and then you added
Yes.
the tagline of why the DM doesn't go in for the kill. What's your
Yeah.
what's your meaning behind that question?
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to talk about combat, but specifically DM combat against the players. And obviously, mechanic wise, and maybe like gaming wise, in a video game sense, why doesn't the DM just go for the spellcaster and the healer first and obliterate them and not worry about having to, you know, worry about the frontliners because there's no taunting system in D&D. There's no tanking per se, it's
Mhm.
just kind of like the storytelling of it. But why you as a DM does just obliterate the spellcasters first and then worry about the beefcakes later when there's no one to heal them.
So my approach to this is it depends on the monster, right? Because I like to think in certain situations I absolutely do that. And I can think of some instances in campaign 1 where there were spellcasters and saw that you had some, and they're like, "Mm-mm, we're gonna take care of them." Um, I think it's tricky. Um, Mainly because killing a player is a big deal, right? I'm not saying that I pull punches, but killing a player is a big deal. It entirely disrupts whatever's going on in that game world, right? Um, and I feel like if every single monster constantly tried to not only down but kill players, that would really create a very adversarial atmosphere. And I know y'all joke, "Oh, Max is trying to kill us" and stuff like that. But if if we go back to some of the early days of D&D, like if that's what it was, like you want to win the game, and I want to make sure you don't. Like I wouldn't want to play that kind of game. Um, with caveat, in my mind, there's a difference, right? You have your league of bad guys, right? And you're fighting them. They're going to have their own motivations. They're going to have their own reasons. They're going to have their own things they're trying to accomplish. Um, and this is one of those answers that depends, right? Um, are you more valuable to them alive versus dead? Do they have to defeat you to complete their goals? Do they merely have to get you out of the way so they can do something, right? A lot of things. But I will say with the assassins from Salon, I think that was sort of the very first time that you saw that, oh, this shit's for real. Because I think I described that they are out to kill you. Like they're not gonna knock you out, take your stuff. They're not gonna capture you. You're gonna die if you let them get you. But I don't think it's realistic that everything would do that, right? You're fighting some monsters or a pack of wolves that are hungry. They might down one person, try and drag them away, and leave, and take their prize. Right? It doesn't make sense for them to go after everybody one by one. But I don't know. How do you feel about that from the DM's chair, or as a player's chair?
Um, well, I guess I'm gonna tell a little story. A lot of this, I feel like a lot of this is like back when I played, uh, reminiscing about my previous campaigns. But my friend who was new to DMing, set up an encounter, and this is like challenge rating is a typical thing.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's terrible. So you're not really sure what's like the appropriate level to send creatures or encounters against players. But they were just a bunch of orcs, but we're going through a canyon, and he posted all the orcs up top, and they're just pelting arrows at us, and there was no way for us to get up there, so we kind of just died. Like, and it
Mm,
wasn't his intention to kill us. He was just like using strategy,
hmm.
uh as what orcs would do to ambush people and steal their stuff, and then it worked. We
Yeah.
couldn't climb up, and so here's so at the end of the campaign, because we're all dead, he's just like, "Wow, I didn't think I was gonna kill you all. I didn't expect that to be that challenging. It was just orcs with arrows."
Hmm.
And we're like, "Yeah." He was like, "You won, I guess." But that wasn't the intention. But yeah, I think it's more important about because sometimes when I DM, again unsure of like challenge rating, or maybe I'm rolling
Hmm.
too well and the players aren't. Like I'll pull back on the damage because I'm not trying to kill them, because I guess the main thing about a DM is you're trying to tell a story. You're not trying to kill
Hmm.
players. So if you're out to just kill your players, then you should just go play a video game and not Dungeons and Dragons, because that's like defeats the whole purpose of getting together, sitting around a table, hanging out, and just
Hmm.
trying to tell a cool story.
It's a very delicate balance because you don't want to go out trying to kill your players, but you want to challenge them.
Yes.
You want to give them adversity, because if every combat is you know walk in the park, um, they're not gonna have fun either, right? It's one hitting a bunch of stuff can be fun, definitely, and that's definitely a tool in your tool belt, but you've got to give them some adversity. Um, and that's kind of why I stick to the whole the mantra of I just make the sandbox. I create these encounters, I create these things, and I necessarily don't know how they're gonna they're gonna come out, because there were a couple times in the first campaign that you all were very close to one or multiple people dying, right? And those are the things that players remember. I think the really pivotal moments where they're able to turn it around.
Oh
But
yeah.
it could have been just as likely that they couldn't overcome, that circumstance, and that one or maybe more of the characters died. Um, and I and that's something to you don't want to use all the time, right? You don't want to constantly put them in mortal danger at every turn, but it can be a very, very powerful storytelling element. Um, Especially if a character dies, if handled correctly, right? Yeah, you shouldn't be knocking them down left and right, making them roll new characters every week. But character death, that I mean, it's rough on
It is
everybody.
rough.
It's rough on the player. It's rough on the G on the DM, because like I don't want a player to die. That's never my intention. But I know that it's possible it could happen. Um, yeah, and then I think that, especially with the people that we're playing with, I think that we would all sort of take that as like a remarkable like storytelling moment. Hopefully,
It is heavy when a character dies because as a player, you're invested in that character, right? You're
yeah,
projecting yourself into that character, and when that character dies, a part of you dies because you spent so much time playing this character.
yeah,
So it could be really sad when I've seen where players get absolutely demoralized in real life, from their character dying in games. So
hmm,
some people can take it hard, and or some other people are like, cool, I had a backup character in mind, so I'm excited to play that. So there's two ends of the spectrum, but it's still,
hmm,
yeah, it could be a powerful moment in the story, especially if you could spin it in a way to make it more memorable.
yeah. Also, thank you, Rolls Revamp, for following us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome on
Um,
in.
DM Mighty Gamer. Imagine balancing encounters as if the world cares about your party. Yeah, I think like I always like those moments that are that the adversity is too strong for the players to overcome, and running is a valid strategy. I think those are cool moments too. I know that I have to be careful, and I probably err on the side of too much caution, where I'll put a big neon sign and say, "Hey, they'll kill you. Maybe you shouldn't do this," kind of thing. Because in that circumstance, if it's too powerful, um, it's harder to know, because we're just playing a game versus reality, right? Um, of maybe going the extra mile, saying like, "Hey, this is beyond your means potentially. So take with that what you will."
Yeah, I feel like as a player, we could take on anything, right? So even if
Yeah.
you say this is probably gonna kick your ass, but as a player, I'm like, oh, we can do it easy. There's nothing we can't do, and then you get your butts kicked, and uh, you know, having to run away, which I don't think most players don't want to run away. They want to beat the bad, right? So it's kind of like, are you gonna let your pride take over and potentially get a a total party wipe, or are you gonna run away and lick your wounds and then come back later,
Yeah. And I'm I'm the worst too, because I remember specific situations where you all ran and I said, "So you're taking the cowardly way out," just to poke you a little bit.
No, we're just gonna stretch somewhere else
Yeah.
and come back.
Yeah. Um yeah, I think it's interesting. And there, yeah, I think it's one of those things that just depends. You don't want to go out to kill characters willy-nilly or anything, but it's very useful, because if I'm a player and I'm going into a combat knowing that my character's never going to die, there's no tension for me. There's no excitement. Just quite recently, like yesterday, I played in a game where we're level one, and my character is sort of a like a samurai esque like knight archetype. And they did, and in their infinite wisdom, they decided to call out and one on one this person. Um, and They did it the one-on-one, and I knew at that point, because I knew the DM I was playing with, I was like, my character could die here. Like, this is an interesting decision. And I definitely had some second guesses when the enemy had a second attack. But no, but that's the moment, is that I had this really cool one-on-one cinematic duel that my character walked away from with 2 HP, right? If I had walked up and challenged this huge, this huge bad guy and just wiped the floor with him, then it probably wouldn't have been as memorable. So having that danger, having that fear of like, I might not make it out of this, or my character might not make it out of this, I don't know. It adds to the story, I think, more than it takes away. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think with one instance, the for story element, I had a DM. He took me aside. He's like, "Hey, I want your character to die. How do you want to die?" I was like, he's like, "Well, first of all, how do you feel about that? Because if you don't want your character to die, then we won't do it." And I was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, that actually sounds really awesome. Like, my character's gonna die, and there's like this epic moment." And so I think in that instance, it was okay. Because the DM asked me first and make sure it was okay, but like my character was fighting the big bad on the enemy ship, as I let the rest of my party get away safely, and as
Hmm.
they finally got away, like the ship was going down and exploded. It was like super cool in that instance. But then the opposite of that, and when me and my friends played 3.5, we made a house rule. So if you roll a natural 20 and you back it up with a natural 20 and you back that up, uh, that's a instant death. I've lost a few characters because of that, because
Wow.
the odds of getting 2 20s and backing that up is very low, yeah, on the opposite of the spectrum, we were able to kill, like, a really big bad, like, one of many big bads, but one basically one-shotted because of that.
When you say backing up, do you mean like the older like crit confirmation rules
Yes.
kind of thing? Like you roll in that 20, you make another attack roll, and if it
Yes.
would hit them, then it's
Then
confirmed to
it's
be
a
a crit.
critical. Yeah, then it's a confirmed critical.
God, I hate that.
Yeah. So in that, for the instant death rules, is roll nat 20, back it up with another nat 20, then you
I see.
confirm that critical. So
Yeah.
it's 3 rolls
Yeah.
that need to succeed in order to insta kill something.
Yeah. It's decently low chance, or fairly low chance for sure. Uh, but yeah, I think one thing that needs to be said too from the DM's chair is, when it comes to character deaths, you want to make sure that a character death is a result of like their actions or their poor choices. That's very important.
Mm,
The character has to have agency, that they knowingly went into this, understood the risks, and still did it, right? Whether it's a fight, whether it's whatever. The last thing you want to do is roll your dice for a random thing and say, "Oh, rocks fall and you die," like the old meme, right? Old D&D. Like, you definitely don't want that, because that just leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Um,
mhm.
I would absolutely hate that as a player. Where there's like, oh well, I rolled a random thing that's going to happen, and then a boulder falls, and then you're dead. Sorry. Like, don't leave don't leave that like to a chance. Um, for sure.
Man, something just popped in my head and I lost it. I was
Uh
reading from chat. It'll come back to me, but
oh.
I'm gonna have to ponder now.
See, innate. My favorite combat moment was in an ancient underground dragon church that was infested with slugs. Kirk throwed a scroll of grease that coated like a small group of enemies and shooting them with a trench gun, causing an eruption of fire, causing the slug infested undead burning away to death. I love that. And those are some cool things that you can do, just a sort of rule of cool combat. Like, there's probably not necessarily a rule. I don't think grease has anything specific anymore about flammability. I may be wrong here. Um, but that's some cool stuff. But yeah, Rocks
Oh,
Fall You Die is great until it's not a meme anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
when it's real, it's no longer funny.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember I was gonna say, so there were a couple moments in campaign 1 where I DM'd you and I'm like, hey, if Ron dies, can I have like a dying monologue? And I think we're in the middle of combat, and you're like, "We'll talk about it if we get there."
Yeah, and I think that may have been one of those moments where I was probably doing like 20 things at once. But I think like gut instinct is like absolutely right. I mean, because you all saw that um pretty early on in the campaign, and I kind of let you all know what's happening first to kind of have that dying monologue. And I had saw, I can't remember what the video was, and I wrote this down. And this is kind of going a little bit off topic, but still close enough to like character deaths and stuff. Uh, I saw a rule, the a home, I'm gonna say a house rule. I'm gonna say a home rule. That makes no sense. House rule, homebrew. I was trying to do homebrew and house
Homebrew.
rule together.
Yeah.
That's where it came from. They call it a flashback rule, where if your character has to make a death save, that every time they have to make a death save, that they narrate a memory as their life sort of flashes before their eyes.
Mm.
And I'm gonna talk to the rest of the players, and I'm almost certain that I want to include that into campaign 2 because it's just too cool not to. Little tidbits of backstory coming out. I think that's great.
I like that. Give you a little character building flavor.
Hmm.
I know viewers love to know more about people's characters and then like
Yeah,
their history.
yeah. Homebrew, a new D&D coffee brand. Hold
Boom.
on.
Put on Interlink Designs right now.
Homebrew, got it.
That would be fun unless you have a amnesia character.
Yeah, it necessarily like it wouldn't work for Vin for a long while. But yeah, yeah, you got to be careful with player deaths. I think is the kind of overall theme of why DMs just don't go for the kill. Also, it has to make sense too. Different enemies might have
Motives.
different motives and reasoning. Have
All
we
right,
missed
that
any
makes sense.
questions?
Because I was mainly thinking by like a mechanics standpoint and
Mm,
pure combat standpoint,
yeah,
nothing to do with like ambitions or motive or decision making. And it's just like
yeah,
why doesn't the DM just poop all over the players, you know? So
yeah. And I guess to answer the question, why doesn't the DM go for the kill? And my official answer is I do, but when it makes sense. Um, I guess another example too was with Falcon in the tournament.
yeah,
And that's when y'all knew, oh shit, this is real now.
that was very, very close to losing Valken there.
Hmm. Yeah, good times. We can talk more about that stuff in the Out of Combat Live. I'm excited to see what questions everybody has. Did we miss anything in the chat? By the way, I mean, any burning D&D questions that you all have, feel free to post them and we'll get to them.
How often did I ask that? I felt like Ron nearly died half a dozen times. I wouldn't say I asked every time, but it
We
was like
miss.
during the big moments, like the big fights. Like we go in detail that later when we do out of combat live.
Mhm. Repost it,
Uh,
Village.
yeah,
I'll go
if you
for it.
still have alignment questions, we can turn back. Just Q&A mode now.
Yeah, we can do Q&A mode. The Drider. Ooh, I think those are some of the creepiest looking creatures for me.
You don't like hot, sexy spiders?
No. Yeah, and
Uh,
that makes sense, DM Mighty Gamer, that why a Drider would immediately go and try and kill a Drow. Like, that totally makes sense, especially with lore reasons. Do you think characters with patrons like Cleric and Warlock should use alignment to stay in tune of their patrons? For instance, a good deity requires its clerics to be good or drops powers. I might throw this back at you. A do you think that a deity requires followers to have the same alignment as them. Case in
Mm,
point, the Oak Father. There was a lawful evil paladin that was a paladin of the Oak Father that you fought. There was a lawful good, there was a lawful neutral, and if you want to look at the different colors of knights that I was playing into. Um, so I don't think it's necessary for them to have the same alignment necessarily. Well,
uh,
if you were a deity village, we probably have bigger problems. Whether if we're the same alignment as you.
man, either everything would be on fire or it would be raining delicious food, like in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball. I
Yeah,
would say it's, situational. Like,
yeah,
if you're a cleric of Palor and Palor hates the undead and you're a cleric who's raising undead and making zombies, and yeah, for sure. I don't think Palor would appreciate that.
yeah. And you bring up a good point. About Palor pursuing that. I like to match up followers with the domain of the
Mhm.
deity as opposed to their alignment strictly. Um, because I think, and we're speaking, super high level of deities. Like a deity might have use for people of other alignments, right?
True.
People that have certain way of doing things and what they will and won't do. But yeah, I think it's better to tie it to domain rather than to alignment. So you think that your actions rather than alignment would matter? For instance, a demon packed warlock is meant to abide by their demon even if they're good at heart. That just creates some fun conflict. I think too. Um, maybe the circumstances of how that character had that demon as their patron, right? Maybe it's a classic case where the demon is kind of like, "I only want you to do these things," to kind of gain their favor. Maybe the demon's actively trying to make them change their ways to make them more useful to them. It's at some point there would be a breaking point if I was running that, where if a character refused to abide by their patron, then that's kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a gridlock? No, something like that.
Immovable wall meets
Yeah. Yeah, same energy there, but I can't think of the word I'm trying to use. Stand still. Stalemate.
stalemate.
It's
There you
kind of a
go.
stalemate where um if they don't want to do what the patron says, patron's the one providing the powers, then whoops, no powers anymore. Um
Yeah, I think that's also situational too. Like, if you have a demon, um, patron and they don't care what you do, they just want your soul at the end of the day, you know?
yeah.
So that could be a thing, but yeah, it's really up to how the story is being told.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of good questions too. Great example, Bun, like John Constantine, right? John Constantine. It's a great example of that. Uh, but yeah, things get complicated when you throw alignment in there. See what I'm saying? With player characters.
It's true. I think gods would only care if you're doing as they ask, aka being lawful. I think they might care less about you being lawful evil. They just care about the lawful part. Yeah, that's that's true. If you have a god that's very would say axiomatic.
Hmm.
They don't care what you do, good or bad, as long as you're doing it within the confines of the law of whatever that
Yeah.
deity is.
Hmm. Yeah. I think there's always gonna be like the extremities of people with the deities and who follow them and stuff like that.
Book of vile darkness for everyone.
But yeah, I don't know. Any other questions anyone may have? Alignment or otherwise, combat, death. If you were gonna play an evil monster, which would you play? Ooh. What about you? Boobs, you go first.
Evil monster. Uh, an obelisk popped into my head for some reason.
Interesting choice of words. It just popped into your head.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They do a lot of evil shit.
Yeah. Uh I am in a toss up between an illithid or a lich.
Hmm.
Those would both. I mean, I guess I did play a lich, but he was a good lich
Yeah, it's a
in the
lich with
campaign.
a heart of, I don't want to say gold, but bronze.
Yeah, it wasn't black.
Yeah.
Majestic Wolf, thank you for following. An evil
Ooh,
monster, a bard, any bard. Yeah, I don't know. I think an
Gorgon.
illithid
Brannis.
or
I
lich
would
would be.
play Brannis. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm if you made me pick, I would say Mind Flayer and illithid because I think if putting myself in a character's point of view, I think I would be more terrified of an illithid than a lich. I think.
Yeah, I don't want tadpoles in me.
Mm-hmm.
Swim into my brain. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Plus, the
Yeah.
transformation is so horrific. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Fun.
Like
You said a gorgon. Yeah, because in D&D there's a monster called a gorgon that's like the bull.
they're a
It's
metal
like
bull,
metallic. How about you mean
and
like Greek mythology gorgon, like what
and
Medusa
they do
was?
petrify if they get their gas on you.
Yeah. But I think D&D also has they call them Medusas, right? I
Yeah,
think
I think they're just Medusas.
specifically.
Gorgons are the bull petrifying beast.
Yeah. The Goblin King so you can sing the songs. Amazing, Aeon. Yeah, what about
Yeah,
you all in chat? What
that
would you
doesn't sound
play?
evil to me. Goblin King who sings? That sounds awesome.
You can sing songs and bash people with a club at the same time.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. I didn't think about that.
Play Strahd. Yeah. Strahd's pretty terrifying. That's for sure. Beholder. Yeah, Beholder's a whole nother animal because whatever a beholder dreams becomes reality. So that's great.
No, they don't have to be evil.
What don't?
Anything that we're saying, like there
Yeah.
could be a good Goblin King, a good Beholder, a good Aboleth, a good Lich.
I mean, y'all, yeah, I don't know if I would call him good-ish. Good-ish is what he was.
Well, maybe their intentions were evil because they became a Lich, but then they were like, oh, you know what? Getting to this point wasn't the coolest, and I want to do good things now. Kind of like a redemption Lich.
I think in their case, it was a end justifies the means for them. So
Yeah.
doing the wrong thing for the right reasons is interesting. Yeah, I like complex villains. That's for sure. That aren't just cookie cutter, especially like your big bads.
I mean, I think it's okay to have the a villain that's just wants to rule the world for just no reason, just be super villain evil.
Yeah,
But for things like that, it's just maybe for like a one shot, not for the main big bad.
but did you bring me this jar so people could watch me fail on stream?
Well, according to the camera, no one can see it, but you just let everybody know.
Success, in case anyone was wondering.
Nice pasta.
I have not been emasculated on stream. Thank you.
I did like your villains, Max. They were really good. They weren't just one-dimensional villains. They had purpose.
Mhm.
They had a reason to do what they're doing. I think those are the best villains.
Yeah, I think the best villains are ones where you can kind of like you can see where they're coming from. And I think those are the scariest too, because they're so close to, so close where like, yeah, anybody could maybe think that way. Maybe anybody could do that. Like, what would I do in that circumstance? It's kind of like thinking about Thanos, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's just like, oh yeah, overpopulation, everyone's gonna die. Um, I guess I gotta go for half instead to save everybody else. Which, if you want to extrapolate, why don't you just double the resources? But we're not gonna go there. At this point, you should snap and make double the resources instead of killing half the population. But yeah, it's those crazy things where it's just like, oh, maybe they're right, but we can't do that. That's wrong. So
I guess not that the archmage would know this, but like you totally could have flipped it on Ron and you're like, wouldn't you do anything to bring your family back? You know?
mhm,
Like Ron would probably pause and think.
yeah,
Yeah. If the archmage knew Ron's history, he totally could have pulled that card.
mhm, yeah, 100%. It's those villains that you can just almost relate to. If you just let yourself slip a little bit, I think it makes it really interesting. I'm glad that you liked him. I worked really hard. I put a lot of work in there. Did a lot of reading for my first real campaign, being a DM anyway. But yeah, a lot of good discussion. So TLDR, alignment. Take it or leave it, leave it, unless you're a DM. Combat. Should DMs go for the kill? Yes, if it makes sense.
But not
Easy.
don't do it every combat.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes sense.
But no, yeah, I understand you want to challenge your players. You don't want them to breeze
Hmm.
through and just fireball everything and then they fly off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Conflict makes better storytelling.
100%. So does failure. Keep that in
Yes.
mind too. Failing is okay, especially in D&D where you're in a game with friends. Thank you, Majestic. Robert
Oh,
was just on
on
Friday
Friday.
on City of Terror. And that's the one where I wouldn't I almost had nothing to do with it because that's not true. That was the one time where I wasn't on stream as a player as a DM. I typically DM. I'm the resident DM here during the campaigns, but we're in between the campaigns, so we're doing some one shots and other things to kind of give me a break to write, write a whole new campaign. Um, so yeah, if you had to
Yeah.
ban one class from a campaign, what would it be and why is it Paladin? I love Paladin. Paladin's one of
Talents
my favorite
are
classes.
the best. They're
Village,
so good.
your typo, amazing. The one shits have been very awesome. Wow. Tell me how you really feel. I put a lot of work into them.
I love one shits.
Fantastic. Yeah,
I
I
don't
will.
know.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just to answer Village's question. I don't know if there was any one class I would ban. Maybe Ranger. They're just not great.
That's sad.
I love Rangers. I used to be Ranger main, and then now there's kind of whatevs.
If you made me cut a class, if you made me cut a class, that's tough.
Our first campaign was called Sweet Justice. We
That's
didn't
a good
have
name for it.
that name until later, so I don't
Mhm.
know what was actually called Max.
I didn't call it anything. I called it campaign one.
Boom.
Yeah, I don't know what I would. I don't know. My first gut instinct when I looked at the list, um, my first gut instinct was sorcerer.
Oh, why? Why sorcerers?
I don't know. I can't answer it. Um, And then I waffled and I was like, maybe Bard. I was like, that doesn't make sense either. Um, yeah, I don't know which one I would do, honestly. I guess if you said do it now and I would have picked Sorcerer and that would have been it. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Why delete when you can fix? Fixing's
Yeah,
hard though.
just add more.
Fixing's very hard.
Just cut fighters, cut clerics. Just
Yeah, we don't need clerics.
You'd ban multi-class. Multi-classing is technically an optional rule. So you can say no, you can't multi-class ever.
That is
It's
another
a
discussion I would have for another time for Tome of Knowledge is
yeah,
multi-classing. If it is it
absolutely,
worth it?
absolutely.
Because I have thoughts.
Yeah, yep. But anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for dropping your questions. If you haven't yet, please go subscribe to our YouTube. We're really close to getting the 1,000 subscribers that we need.
YouTube.com/at casters and cantrips.
Yep, it's right there in the description or the chat or wherever you think it is. Um, Check out the one shots. They're going to be up there. Well, they are there. You can watch the live stream right now. Or go to castersandcantrips.com and you can just go see everything. So we've got Patreon, or one of the tiers you can actually help me build an NPC for
People
upcoming
just
campaign.
you know what else you can get at castersandcantrips.com, Max?
What?
This beautiful casters and cantrips stickers
Oh,
that I put on my water container. Look at that.
those look
They're
really
beautiful.
nice.
They look great. Look at that.
It
There's
was
a
a
little
sticker
actual
sheet, right? You got the whole sticker sheet?
Yeah, I got the sheet. I got one sticker left. I have the upright sweet justice with the donut.
I love that design.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, you should check it out and put the stickers on things, or go to a concert where bands put their stickers on walls, but you put casters and cantrips instead.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But anyway, important dates. Don't forget, March 31st is our next one shot. Ron's Dreamy one shot where I'm going to play Brandis, which is going to be amazing.
My
April
first,
7th, Out of Combat Live. Out of Combat is usually our after show that we would do after the episodes, but this time it's going to be about the whole campaign, so kind of a nice little wrap up. And then April 21st, campaign 2. I'm very excited. It's gonna be amazing.
yep, my first DMing on stream, so hopefully it goes well.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. It's definitely a different monster DMing on stream.
Yes,
But
I'm trying to calculate time and breaks and all the things that you go through. So I'm kind of panicking, even though it's not. If we're 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks out.
you got time.
Yeah. So panic mode has already began.
It's gonna be great. But anyway, thanks for watching. Tomorrow, Bun at 7 p.m. is gonna be doing some character art for campaign 2. Get a nice behind the scenes look. And then we're gonna be out. Bun and I are going on vacation. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back at some point. We got tons of content though. That's queued up on YouTube as well as our podcast platforms. So you will not be longing for content because it'll be there. But anyway,
Yeah.
thanks for watching, everybody. Do you have any last words of wisdom for them, Moobs?
Yeah. Hold on a second. I should have brought this up earlier, but the last 2 weeks we talked about the 1D&D stuff for the druid and the paladin, and we mentioned that if you are not submitting the survey after playtesting, I believe it's March 23rd is when the surveys go live. So again, if you're criticizing the stuff about 1D&D for specifically the druid and paladin UA, don't poop alone. Poop out with everybody by submitting your feedback.
Feedback survey will be available March 20th
Oh, there you go, 20th.
over
3
on
days
D&D
earlier than I
Beyond.
said.
So yeah, definitely fill it out because feedback is king. So Anyway, thank you all so much. But an excellent night. See you all here tomorrow. And as always, do donuts, not drugs. See you next time, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.